morning to you all. I'm here somewhere. Here I am. How you doing? And welcome to everybody welcome to you all. This is DMS 3000 News Live, episode number 54 on this October 2nd, 2023. I am your host and moderator, Jason DeCanio. And I hope you had a fantastic weekend. In fact, I hope you had a fantastic week because last week we were not with you at all. And there's a reason for it, and I'll bring that up toward the end of the program in our editorial. We have lots to cover today, but we have some fantastic stories to bring to you as well, and a special surprise, which I will announce towards the end of the program as well. So, with all that said, today on our program, we're going to be looking at the 61st anniversary of Johnny Carson premiering as the new host of The Tonight Show. Yes, this was the launching day, October 2nd, 1962. If I'm not mistaken, right? Yes, 1962, October 2nd, he made his premiere as the new host of The Tonight Show, replacing Steve Allen or Jack Paar, one of the two. I think they were kind of like trading off between the two hosts before Carson permanently came in and just swept them right under the rug. And, well, the rest is history. So we'll look at Johnny Carson and his fantastic life and the 61st anniversary of how he got the job. Also, too, we have the 78th birthday of Don McLean, the man who made American Pie a staple. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. The guy who pretty much sang that song for 10 minutes straight, put you to sleep, or did whatever you wanted to do and bored the heck out of you. Or if you love the song so much that you have to constantly play it to keep it going and fresh and ingrained in your brain, then you have my sympathies. Okay? Because I do not like the song at all. I think it just, it stands for traditional rock and roll. Yes, it does. So I personally can't associate with that song because it's before my time. It was like early 70s, so I wasn't even born yet. But that's okay, to each his own. But we'll look at the 78th birthday of Don McLean today. McLean, or however you want to put it. And we will tribute his life, okay? And then we have an essay on corruption. Folks, we're getting to that point in our lives where we have to say, what is corruption? Well, we're going to define it. There is a definition for it. Our whole country is corrupt, and we know it. They know it. But how good and well do they know it that they have to hide it so much? I don't know. But we're going to look at that essay a little later on in the program. Plus, we also have news of the weird. What day is today? The headlines, sports, and other important information, and of course our editorial at it, and of course my ticker is supposed to be on there on the bottom. There it is. All right, cool. But we're going to, of course, start every program like we do with the headlines, sports, and other important information. Of course, we go to npr.com for all of our news and headlines today on the 2nd of October, 2023. So let's go right now to the news. Get ourselves going here. Donald Trump's business fraud trial gets underway in New York as former President Donald Trump and 3 of his children are accused of exaggerating the value of their real estate. Whoa. Yeah. Nobel Prize goes to scientists who made mRNA COVID vaccines possible. Hungarian-born biochemist Katalin Karikó and American immunologist Drew Weissman founded a chemical change to genetic code called mRNA, eliminated a problematic side effect when used in vaccines. And healthcare has a massive carbon footprint. These doctors are trying to change that. Around the country, healthcare workers continue to grapple with their industry's massive carbon footprint. In Pittsburgh, doctors formed clinicians for climate action to address the problem. It's not just FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried. His parents also faced legal trouble. FTX's lawyers allege Sam Bankman-Fried's mom and dad helped shape their son's crypto empire and received millions of dollars worth of gifts and benefits from the now bankrupt company. Brain cells interpreted or interrupted. How some genes may cause autism, epilepsy, and schizophrenia. Well, researchers have identified 46 genes that can disrupt a process that is critical to early brain development. The finding could help scientists find new treatments for disorders, including autism. And surrounded by synths, Alan Palomo is teasing out a new kind of sound. For much of his career, Alan Palomo has coaxed sounds from synthesizers and been at the forefront of the chill wave genre. With his fourth album and his solo debut, he's changing it up. Poland's dangerous eastern border takes center stage in upcoming elections. The NATO and EU member borders Belarus, the Russian territory of Kaliningrad, and Ukraine, plus a strip of land connecting it to Lithuania. It's an unstable and volatile mix of frontiers. Well, the Hollywood writers' strike is over, but the actors' strike could drag on, and here's why. The actors' union, the SAG-AFTRA, is hoping to cut as good a deal with the studios as the writers' union, the WGA, did last week, but the negotiations starting Monday could be more complicated. Monday's Powerball jackpot is now worth more than $1 billion. That's right, the jackpot for the next drawing Monday night remains the world's 9th largest lottery prize of all time. At least 9 dead after church roof collapses in Mexico, officials say. The Tamaulipas State Police said about 100 people were in the church during a mass at the time of the Sunday collapse. At Taylor Swift's stadium stop hikes up ticket prices for the Chiefs-Jets game. Yeah, Taylor Swift means business. The pop star brought an economic boost to the NFL after she was seen at a Chiefs game. Her appearance at MetLife Stadium gives the franchise another opportunity to cash in. France sees a jump in bed bugs as Paris prepares to host the Olympics next year. No one is safe. Paris First Deputy Mayor Emmanuel Gregori said in a tweet on Friday. Retired Red Sox knuckleballer Tim Wakefield dies at the age of 57. His role in the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry of the early 2000s turned Wakefield into a fan favorite whose impact went far beyond his numbers. And the GOP wants Representative Jamal Bowman punished after he triggered a fire alarm on Saturday. The New York Democrat says a mistake occurred as he was rushing to get to a vote, but Republicans have suggested Bowman was trying to delay the proceedings. Connecticut enacts its most sweeping gun control law since the Sandy Hook shooting. The new law, signed by Democratic Governor Ned Lamont in June, bans the opening carrying of firearms and prohibits the sale of more than 3 handguns within 30 days to any one person, with some exceptions. It's one of the world's toughest anti-smoking laws. The Maori see a major flaw. New Zealand has declared war on tobacco with a remarkable new law. The indigenous Maori population, with the country's highest smoking rate, has a lot to gain, but they have a bone of contention. In France, workers build a castle from scratch the 13th way. Well, deep in a forest in the Burgundy region, a group of enthusiasts is building a castle the medieval way, no motorized machines included. The comedian says words often fall during tragedy, and that's okay. Robert Delaney found out his youngest son, Henry, had brain cancer. This is a story about the saddest of places life can take you, but it's also about the biggest of loves and how to scrape up bits of joy. And who's in the Army now? A pitch switch aims to get more military recruits. Amid those hawking corn dogs and cheese curds at the Minnesota State Fair, the Army is trying to sell itself, and an effort to entice sign-ups is happening as the Army struggles to fill its ranks. And Turkey strikes suspected Kurdish militants in Iraq after a suicide attack on Ankara. Turkish warplanes carried out airstrikes on suspected Kurdish militant targets in northern Iraq after a suicide attack on a government building in the Turkish capital, Turkey's defense ministry said. Pro-Russia ex-PM leads leftist party to win in Slovakia's parliamentary elections. The election was a test for the small Central European countries' support for neighboring Ukraine. The win by Robert Fico could strain a fragile unity in the European Union and NATO. And finally, the police chief who led a raid of a small Kansas newspaper has been suspended. Marion Mayor David Mayfield, in a text, said he suspended Chief Gideon Cody on Thursday. He declined to discuss his decision further and did not say whether Cody was still being paid. And those are the headlines for today, October 2nd, 2023. Now, let's get you over to the sports and all the things that ended today for the Major League Baseball regular season. But we're going to first look at the tragic passing of a man who, at the age of 57, passed away from cancer, Tim Wakefield. And we want to cover that story now. And we also want to kind of make sure that everybody is on the same page as far as that's concerned. So let's go ahead and look at the latest news, and let's see if there is here we go. Okay. So here's the basically the article. It's the selfless teammate, extraordinary human Tim Wakefield passes away. This is from Ian Brown back on October 1st, which was yesterday. Tim Wakefield, who used his darting knuckleball to become the third winningest pitcher in Red Sox history, died from brain cancer at the age of 57 on Sunday, the Red Sox announced. We are deeply saddened by the loss of Tim Wakefield, one of the most unique pitchers of his generation, and a key part of the most successful era in the history of the Boston Red Sox, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a statement. Tim's knuckleball allowed him to excel as a rookie with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1992. In 1995, he began a 17-year tenure in Boston, where he made a mark that will be remembered forever. Tim was more than just a versatile and reliable all-star pitcher, a highly respected teammate, and a two-time World Series champion. In 2010, Tim was named the Roberto Clemente Award winner for the dedicated work he and his family did serving the communities of New England. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I extend my deepest condolences to Tim's family, his friends and teammates across the game, and Red Sox fans everywhere. We will continue to support our partners at Stand Up to Cancer in the memory of Tim and all those who are in the fight against this disease. Tim's kindness and indomitable spirit were as legendary as his knuckleball, said Red Sox principal owner John Henry. He not only captivated us on the field, but was the rare athlete whose legacy extended beyond the record books to the countless lives he touched with his warmth and genuine spirit. He had a remarkable ability to uplift, inspire, and connect with others in a way that showed us the true definition of greatness. He embodied the very best of what it means to be a member of the Boston Red Sox, and his loss is felt deeply by all of us. News that Wakefield was battling brain cancer surfaced publicly just 3 days before his death. A couple of weeks ago, Wakefield underwent surgery to fight the aggressive form of cancer he was dealing with. It's one thing to be an outstanding athlete. It's another to be an extraordinary human being. And Tim was both, said Red Sox chairman Tom Werner. He was a role model on and off the field, giving endlessly to the Red Sox Foundation and being a force for good for everyone he encountered. I felt fortunate to call him a close friend, and along with all of us in Red Sox Nation, I knew the world was made better because he was in it. Wakefield, a core member of 2 World Series championship teams in Boston, is survived by his wife Stacy, son Trevor, and daughter Brianna. Winner of 200 games in the major leagues, Wakefield notched 186 of those victories for Boston, placing him only behind Cy Young and Roger Clemens, who both had 192 wins for the Red Sox. Wakefield was known as a selfless teammate and the consummate professional, and was an active community member in his playing days and just as much following his retirement from baseball in the spring of 2012. It's a rare occurrence for a two-time World Series champion's extraordinary personality to shine even brighter than their illustrious career, said Red Sox president and CEO Sam Kennedy. Tim was an undeniably an exceptional pitcher, but what truly set him apart was the ease with which he connected with people. He was an extraordinary pitcher, an incredible broadcaster, and someone who exemplified every humanitarian quality in the dictionary. I will miss my friend more than anything and can only aspire to live as genuinely and honorably as he did. Indicated into the inducted into the Red Sox Hall of Fame in 2016. It was stunning to see all Wakefield accomplish given where he was at in his career when he was signed by the team. The righty who starred for the Pirates in the 1992 National League Championship Series against the Braves was released by the Pittsburgh Pirates on April 20th of 1995. Any team could have picked him up. The Red Sox, led by general manager Dan Duquette, signed him 6 days later, and after regaining his groove in the minor leagues for a couple of months, Wakefield started his tenure with the Red Sox with one of the most dazzling runs in team history. In his first 17 starts for Boston, Wakefield went 14-1 with a 1.65 ERA for a team that won the American League East. He showed he was a different breed right out of the gate, pitching 7 magnificent innings in his debut for the team in Anaheim, and then coming back for 7 1/3 shutout innings at Oakland just 3 days later. He pitched 19 major league seasons, 17 of them for the Red Sox. In 2009, Wakefield became an all-star for the first time when he was selected to the team by then-Rays manager Joe Maddon, and Wakefield was a member of 9 postseason teams during his time with the Red Sox, most notably for the 2004 and 07 World Series champs. And while the historic comeback from a 3-0 deficit in the 2004 AL Championship Series against the Yankees will always be remembered for the steal by Dave Roberts in Game 4 and the nonstop heroics from David Ortiz, manager Terry Francona has always said that the comeback started with a selfless act by Wakefield. As the Red Sox were in the middle of taking a 19-8 beatdown in Game 3, Wakefield selflessly put his spikes on and gave up his scheduled Game 4 start to preserve the rest of the bullpen. 2 days later, Wakefield came out of the bullpen for a high-leverage situation and blanked the Yankees for the final 3 innings of a 14-inning classic to earn the victory as Boston sent the series back to New York with a pulsating 5-4 win. During the celebration of Boston's blowout win in Game 7, Wakefield was instructed by some teammates to go back to the mound of Yankee Stadium and just take it in. 1 year earlier, Wakefield had given up a walk-off homer to Aaron Boone in Game 7 of the ALCS that sent the Yankees to the World Series. Tim was a great player in his day and a guy that's really well-respected and well-liked and loved around the baseball world and our baseball fraternity. Yankees manager Aaron Boone said a couple of days ago when Wakefield's diagnosis came to light. When Wakefield made his first public appearance after Boone's homer at the annual Boston chapter of the Baseball Writers Association of America dinner in January, the crowd gave him a loud standing ovation. And upon being elected into the Red Sox Hall of Fame in 2016, Wakefield said, "It's a huge honor. I'm over the moon excited about it." After starting his professional career as a light-hitting first baseman in the Pittsburgh Pirates farm system, Wakefield developed a knuckleball. The pitch saved Wakefield's career. With tutelage from some of the best knuckleballers in history, including Charlie Ho and the Nikiro brothers, Phil and Joe, Wakefield leveraged the unique pitch to a memorable career. And aside from his on-field heroics, he was also a pillar of strength in the community both during his playing career and in retirement. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Red Sox player who immersed himself more into the cancer-fighting Jimmy Fund than Wakefield. In retirement, he was honorary chairman of the Red Sox Foundation. Wakefield was nominated by the Red Sox 8 times for the prestigious Roberto Clemente Award and won it in 2010. That award is given annually to the player in MLB who best represents baseball through extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, and positive contributions both on and off the field. And there you have it, friends. A great story that shows and proves once again that you can beat cancer regardless of whether you're here on the earth or not. And I have a feeling that the family of Tim Wakefield is going to continue to fight and donate money to the worthy cause to fight cancer once and for all. It's a sad story, but one that has a great ending to it. The legacy of a man who, with his knuckleball, will continue to basically give us great memories of baseball history. Thank you, Tim Wakefield, for your services to the Boston Red Sox. Well, finally, we're going to get to wrap up the baseball news with the scores. We'll go very quickly with this. This is we'll go back to Sunday here and finish out the games. These are the final games of the day, and wrapped up the MLB 2023 season as the Red Sox beat the Orioles, and despite having a tough season, finished in last place, but give the Orioles a run for their money. They beat them 6-1. It was the Dodgers over the Giants 5-2, as the Dodgers got another 100 games, winning the series and the division in the NL West. The Pirates beat the Marlins 3-0, but the Marlins, despite having lost that game, are in the playoffs in the wild card. The Angels beat the Athletics 7-3, as neither team is really going to have a chance to go to the playoffs, especially the Athletics. They did win 50 games, though. Lost 112, but, that's the breaks. Hopefully next year we'll know where the Athletics are going. The Rays beat the Blue Jays 12-8, keeping them one shy game of 100. They didn't make it. They didn't get the 100th game. So sad, but it is what it is. They're in the playoffs, though, as a wild card, so we'll see what they can do once they get in there. The Tigers over the Guardians 5-2. It was the Astros 8, the D-backs 1. Astros win the division in the AL West over a tough Texas Rangers team and a very, very tough Seattle Mariners team as well. It was going back and forth there. It was almost a three-way tie at one point. It was the Mariners over the Rangers 1-0. And let's see, the Rockies beat the Twins. The Phillies crushed the Mets 9-1, as the Phillies are actually in their wild card. They win 90 games. The Mets fall to 74-87 on the year. Unfortunately, not going to the playoffs and not much doing anything. In fact, they are looking for a new manager as of yesterday, as they fired Buck Showalter after 2 seasons. It was the Nationals over the Braves 10-9. Doesn't matter one bit. Does the Braves 104-58 going to the playoffs, win the NL East easily. No doubt about it. Padres over the White Sox 2-1, as the White Sox lose 101 games. It was the Royals over the Yankees 5-2. Cubs get shut out by the Brewers 4-0. Cubs missed the playoffs, actually. That's really tough for them. The Cardinals beat the Reds 4-3, and the Reds just did not do what they needed to do to get into the playoffs. And unfortunately, it's a sad day for them as well. They looked really red hot before, and unfortunately, they couldn't get in there. So here are the standings, and we're going to give you just the wild card and the division, and of course the best record. That was the WYNZ. So right now, Baltimore has won the division with the best record at 101-61. Tampa Bay and Toronto both get wild cards. Minnesota wins their division, so they get a spot, and Houston wins their division. Even though they finished tied with Texas at 90-72, Houston had the tiebreaker. That's right. And so Texas gets the wild card. And then In the East, Atlanta Braves, 104-58, have the best record of overall in baseball. They get the division. And Philadelphia gets a wild card at 1972, and Miami gets their wild card at 84-77. Milwaukee wins their division in the NL Central, 92-70. Cubs, Reds, they miss out. They're not going to the playoffs. Tough break for them. Oh, would have loved to seen those two teams get in there, but they didn't. They missed it by at least a game and a half. The Dodgers win their division at 162. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, wouldn't you know it, sneak right in above all three of these teams, even with San Diego and San Francisco trying to be threatened. They are going to the playoffs. Amazing. 84-78 gets them in the wild card. So, the wild card starts. Think it starts tonight. Yes. It starts tonight. Game 1, 3 o'clock. Rangers and the Rays. The AL wildcard, Game 1, Blue Jays and Twins. The NL wildcard tonight, 7 o'clock. D-backs and Brewers. And then at 8:08, the Marlins and the Phillies will face off each other. So this should be very interesting. October 2nd today. Yes. We'll see what happens. All right. When we come back, we're going to be looking at the news of the weird and get you on ball and par, ready to go with our first of 3 events coming up. And we're going to take a break right after this.
As Halloween approaches, you have to prepare yourself for what might happen.
More orange sprinkles.
It's a special time of year, and Dunkin' Donuts is dressing up their donuts for the occasion.
And here's the werewolf.
So come to Dunkin' Donuts and get into the spirit of Halloween.
We'd like some Halloween donuts, please.
Oh, of course.
How does Sam Breakstone know when his sour cream is ready?
Not thick enough!
Now?
Not thick enough!
Now?
Now!
Breakstone's all-natural sour cream is so thick and so rich now because Sam was so demanding then.
Put that down.
Now?
Now! Ah! Try my light choice. It's got 33% less fat than sour cream, but it's 100% delicious.
When you're rushing in a hurry, what's for dinner? Not to worry. When a pizza just won't cut it, more Chinese, you're sick of it. For a warm and hearty supper, grab some Chunky from the cupboard. It's not really such a big deal to prepare yourself a square meal. Chunks of beef and big potatoes. And of course, we've got tomatoes, peas and vegetables galore. Chunky soup, need we say more? Campbell's Chunky. Soup that eats like a meal.
Happy Halloween! I'm Dumpy the Pumpkin, the fresh ice cream cake made daily at Carvel. And here's my good friend, Wiki the Witch.
Are you having a Halloween party? Go to your participating Carvel ice cream store and ask to see us, Dumpy the Pumpkin and me, Wiki the Witch. Or if you want to send one of us to a friend,
please phone 800-327-GIFT and Call a Cake honors most major credit cards. Thank you.
If you suffer from an inflamed, itchy rash caused by eczema, psoriasis, or other skin irritations, you can get the relief medication formerly available only by doctor's prescription. It's the medicine in maximum strength Cortisone 10. Look, Cortisone 10 applied to this itchy rash gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. See? The rash is gone. To relieve itchy rashes and skin irritations, use maximum strength Cortisone 10 with the medicine doctors recommend most. Available without prescription.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
Look out!
16-bit
arcade graphics.
You can't
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Columns free. What Nintendo don't? Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and...
Yeah.
Clean the inside too, mister?
Just the outside.
White Castle. What you crave. Got an extreme crave? Get 20 burgers and 4 orders of fries.
Time for News of the Weird every Monday here on DMS 3000 News Live. Today on episode 54, we've got fantastic stories from the week of episode September 29th, 2023 from the editors at Andrews McMeel Syndication. Our lead story today is the low-speed chase. Well, Los Angeles Police Department cruisers were dispatched in pursuit of the fleeing suspect wanted for assault with a deadly weapon on the evening of September 24th. But rather than the typical high-speed chase through bustling LA streets, officers found themselves following a shirtless and shoeless man in a stolen golf cart with a dog on his lap. KCAL News reported that the low-speed chase began around 9:10 p.m. and went on for much longer than expected due to the ineffectiveness of spike stripes the police laid out in several failed attempts to slow the suspect down. The chase topped out around 19 miles an hour before the suspect pulled into a parking lot around 9:45 p.m. and abandoned the cart, though he continued to carry the pooch. In short order, the barefoot suspect dropped the dog and was detained by police. The man was treated for unknown injuries. His unwitting canine accomplice was returned unharmed to the suspect's family. Everyone knows the dangers associated with texting while driving, but a man in Henderson, Kentucky recently served as a reminder that eating while driving can be hazardous as well. WLKY News in Louisville reported that the unnamed driver pulled out of a McDonald's drive-thru after receiving his order and almost immediately began choking on a French fry. The passenger in the car attempted to offer assistance, but the driver lost consciousness and the car crashed into an Enterprise rent-a-car. The passenger and driver were taken to the hospital and treated for minor injuries. As for the risks of eating on the run, witness Patricia Grossman told WLKY, "I do it, and I'm sure a lot of people do. It's not something I ever thought about, but now we'll definitely think about it more." An electronic construction sign in the Montrose neighborhood of Houston, Texas, offered the opposite of helpful advice to passerby when it was hacked on September 25th, reported KTRK-TV. And due to the weather, the first message was harmless enough, but it was followed immediately by "Go yeah, yourself." A city inspector was able to turn the sign off. Representatives for Houston Public Works said their department does not operate the sign, and city officials have been unable to find the sign's owner. And if you're dealing in illegal drugs, it seems likely that cops are the last people you would want to see. But 33-year-old Eric Thomas actually called for police assistance on September 22nd in Largo, Florida, where, mind you, it is illegal to possess marijuana with intent to sell. So when the officers arrived, Thomas stated he was selling marijuana and someone stole $10 from him while he was attempting to sell it. The Smoking Gun reported that the cops were inclined to believe Thomas's story because he was holding 11 baggies of marijuana totaling 40 grams as he told it. Thomas, who has been convicted of marijuana, cocaine, and battery counts in the last year, was charged with 2 drug felonies and booked to the county jail. The thief who stole Thomas's $10 apparently remains at large. Tacos are arguably the most delicious and convenient fast food item in existence, but stealing one at gunpoint is and always will be a crime. On September 8th, 19-year-old Antonio Murray Jr., approached an employee at Lily's Pandaria in St. Louis, Missouri, pointed a gun, and demanded the taco the employee was in the process of making. The employee handed over the taco, and Murray left without paying. KSDK-5 reported that police located Murray nearby, and that when confronted, he informed them he was carrying a BB gun in his waistband. Murray admitted to the incident and has been charged with 1 count of first-degree robbery. Take me out to the ball game, but leave your alligator at home. Yes, the AP reported that Philadelphia Phillies fan Joe Henney of Jonestown, Pennsylvania, was turned away from Citizens Bank Ballpark on September 27th when he tried to enter with Wally Gator, his emotional support gator. Henney has owned Wally Gator for several years. Legally, it should be noted, and the reptile really is certified as a support animal. Henney has taken his leathery friend to schools and camps and for educational presentations, according to a 2022 Washington Post story about the gator. He even visits a local nursing home in his red support animal vest. But the Phillies game seems to have been a bridge too far. The stadium's policy on support animals states guide dogs, service animals, or service animals in training are welcome. All others are prohibited. Sorry, Wally. We'll save you some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Calling Captain Jack Sparrow and all other rum-loving scallywags. If you ever give up on a life at sea, this might be the place for you. MSN reported that Kathy and Roy Aucamp were still settling into their newly purchased New Jersey house when a massive rainstorm hit, flooding the finished basement. When the couple began removing the damaged sheetrock, another flood began, and this time of empty Captain Morgan rum bottles. In a viral video of the discovery, Roy scoops up dozens of the bottles while Kathy is heard laughing and saying, "Thirsty? It's 5 o'clock somewhere." Interestingly, the previous homeowner saw the clip and got in touch with the Aucamps. The person who did it said there are hundreds more bottles in the walls, Kathy said, but also that he is now 3 years sober. Flamingos have landed in Wisconsin, the first recorded sighting in state history, according to WISN ABC. 5 of the tropical birds were recently spotted on Lake Michigan, understandably drawing the attention of hundreds of people in the decidedly untropical region. Jerry Lawrence, PhD, an expert with the Audubon, Florida, speculated that the flamingos were flying between Cuba and the Yucatan, but were diverted by Hurricane Idalia in late August. Another theory, they're Packers fans. Lorenz encouraged the locals to enjoy their presence, but give the flamingos plenty of space. These birds are stressed right now, and they just went through a terrible ordeal, no matter how you look at it. Wisconsin's Department of Natural Resources said there are currently no rescue plans in the works, and that the flamingos' instincts would prompt them to head south again when temperatures drop. Sometimes humans consume special brownies, and apparently sometimes sheep consume special grass. NPR reported that a herd of sheep seeking refuge from recent storms in Magnesia, Greece, found shelter in a greenhouse and naturally began munching on the grass they encountered there. Unfortunately, the grass turned out to be almost 600 pounds worth of medical marijuana. Farm owner Yanis Baronius, what a name, told a local radio producer that the sheep were jumping higher than the goats, which apparently never happens. And what would you do if you tried to check in at a hotel and no employees were to be found? Well, a trio of friends found themselves in such a predicament at a Nashville La Quinta Inn and Suites after a night out, so they just managed the hotel for several hours on their own. They greeted customers, took phone calls, and even served breakfast to guests. So instantly, we're like manager mode. We run businesses back home, one of the friends explained. Manager mode kicks in, all right, let's see what we can do. Well, a manager eventually arrived and gave the trio a room key so they could finally check in. But upon entering the room, they found it occupied by a woman in the buff. Exasperated, They reached out to a different hotel and were awarded 3 suites and a free breakfast. Wow. And finally, attention ghost hunters, WCVB5 in Boston reports that a Millsbury, Massachusetts funeral home recently went up for sale with the yard sign reading probably haunted. Real estate agent Erica Crystal Euchre added that warning or is at a selling point to the property's for sale sign and pointed to the building's age. It was built sometime around 1850 or nearly 175 years ago as justification. Not sure if it truly is haunted, but given the age, I suppose it's a possibility, Euchre said. But in the Greek revival style, the funeral home was originally a residence before being converted to its more morbid purpose. Last sold in 2001 for a mere $100, the property's value stands at $514,000 today. Wow. Send your weird news with subject line weird news to weirdnewstips@amuniversal.com. There you have it, friends. News of the weird. Yeah. Gotta love those stories, and they get weirder every time. And here in the month of October, if you don't think the stories are that weird, well, get ready, because as we get closer to Halloween, there's going to be even more and more coming up. All right? Well, what day is today? Well, let's look at the national holidays and see some of the yummy things that's going on in the national holidays for October 2nd, 2023. National holiday. Oh, let's see. I got to put in what day is today. There we go. What holiday is today? Yeah, because there's always, there's always something going on. Let's see what we've got in the minds of food today. Guardian Angels Day, Labor Day, National Child Assignment Day, Custodian Day. Here we go. I don't know if everybody likes fried scallops or is allergic to them in some way, shape, or form. But we're going to enjoy it today. Here we go. October is a treasure trove of a month for celebrating seafood. And what better way to start the feast than by celebrating National Fried Scallops Day on October 2nd? When cooked the right way, scallops become the perfect melt-in-your-mouth delicacy, taking you on a food ride of oceanic excellence. Scallops belong to the Pectidinidae family of mollusks, so they can swim in the water by rapidly closing and opening their shells using a muscle, which is usually the most consumed part by humans. Scallops are enjoyed in a variety of ways, like in soups, pasta, or sushi, but one of the most popular and loved scallops are the ones fried in butter and a mixture of herbs and other flavors. And while all our attention will be on some delicious fried scallops this National Fried Scallops Day, did you know that it is usually oysters that tend to get all the love whenever shellfish is being talked about? Yes, oysters are great, but scallops are pretty on par with them. Scallops have been around for a long time now, and they have been found in fossil forms that are as old as 300 million years. The marine bivalve mollusks come from the general family of the Pectidinae. Their cosmopolitanism means that they can be found in every ocean in the world, making them a good source for studying the science of oceans. Scallops are known to travel short distances, but they are also capable of traveling great distances by simply moving their shells rapidly on the ocean floor. Apart from their delicious meat, scallops are also appreciated and prized for their aesthetically colorful shells. Many vacationers and beach enthusiasts collect the shells to keep as prized possessions in their collections. Scallops started gaining popularity in the U.S. in the 19th century only. As before that, the food item wasn't considered to be the choice food for many. And when people started immigrating to America in the 1600s, they found the shores to be rich with food, ranging from shellfish to cod, and it was the latter that was harvested more. Clams, lobsters, shrimps, and oysters were the most popular of the shellfish, while mussels and scallops were not a favorite due to their unconventional sweet flavors. However, as more and more people came to America, scallops recipes started evolving, and by the 1920s, the food item had become a staple in American households and on restaurant menus. People enjoyed it by sautéing it and frying it in butter. Many also liked it baked, stuffed, and pickled. Yes. So 300 million years ago, the fossilized scallops, the scientists they discovered, giving evidence of their presence on planet Earth, go now to 1846, where a recipe of sautéing and stewing scallops appears in Miss Beecher's Domestic Recipe Book, which is recorded as one of the earliest books to have a recipe for scallops in it. Then go to the 1920s and the 30s. Scallops have great popularity, and the evolution of new scallops recipes take the food item to levels of fame it never experienced before. And scallops in French restaurants, 1950s. Many French restaurants start serving unique scallop dishes like Coquille Saint-Jacques. So, National Fried Scallop Day activities. What are we doing with them? We're going to fry some scallops. And they're one of the simplest dishes out there, but it does require a certain level of cooking experience to prepare it properly. It's very easy to overcook it. And if you do that, you will have scallops that are so rubbery and chewy to eat. Perfectly cooked scallops simply melt in your mouth, so try your hand at frying some scallops. And visit a clam shack today. You may have tried fried scallops from a 5-star restaurant, but have you tried one at a good old clam shack? Oftentimes, the fried scallops being served at such places come from freshly caught produce, so the flavors will hit differently in the best way possible. And try a new scallops dish. Fried scallops are a classic in their own right. The dish's versatility also means that it goes great with many other food recipes. So try your hand at pasta or soup with scallops as the star of the dish. 5 facts about scallops that will blow your mind. Rings on their shell indicate their age. The rings on a scallop shell point to its age, with a ring being added for each year of its life. A scallop shell will always remain partially open, unlike oysters or mussels. And scallop shells are a symbol of birth in Christianity and Greek mythology. Unlike their cousins like clams, scallops are one of the cleanest shellfish out there, as their muscles do not filter water. And the scallops have around 50 eyes around the edges of their shells, using them to detect light and movement around them. And why we love National Fried Scallops Day? Well, scallops might have been underrated in the past, but today we celebrate them with full fanfare. Their amazing qualities relating to their biological features and movements are fodder for fascination and imagination. So much so that apart from the food world, scallops have become an important part of religion, culture, art, and literature. And if humans won't understand the value of cosmopolitanism, then who will? Cosmopolitanism has been of immense benefit to many around the world. From experiencing new cultures and languages to getting exposed to newer perspectives, it has shown us how things are meant to be. Scallops, which are just one example of nature's cosmopolitanism, shows us how to adapt according to the environment we are in. And because scallops are found in every corner of the world, the ways you can enjoy them are countless. Have it in butter or with soup, pasta or stew. The choices are endless. There's something for everyone here. And there you have it, friends. National Scallops Day. Today, October 2nd, 2023. And I don't think I see any other food. Nope. So we'll definitely look at what day is today, tomorrow, and look for some more food then. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll start our look at our first topic tonight on the show. We have the 61st anniversary of Johnny Carson, who premiered as the new host of The Tonight Show. We'll be back right after this.
Fire!
It's not easy getting so much rich chocolate into a Three Musketeers bar. Fortunately, it's a lot easier to get all that incredible tasting chocolate out of it.
of it all is the Milford Plaza.
Stay at the Milford Plaza Hotel with cocktail dinner and breakfast for $49.50 per person. Discover why we are the lullaby of Broadway.
The Milford Plaza is the lullaby of all Broadway.
MTA interviews, 30-second mix, take one.
Take the train.
Why have over 1 million people taken the JFK Express?
Because it's faster than taking a taxi. Because it's very fast, clean, and safe.
And that's the only way to fly.
It's safe.
Oh, I work for United Airlines, and it's quicker than the bus.
So we're taking the train to the plane to save money.
To spend in Paris.
Take the train to the plane.
Take the train to the plane.
The JFK Express, only $4, including shuttle bus. Call 858-7272.
Train to the plane.
I'm Murray Linder. On bagels, I'm an expert. People I'll never understand. I tell them a delicious Linder's bagel has more complex carbohydrates than a lot of cereals people call healthy. 20% more. Well, who wouldn't take a toasty, chewy Linder's bagel over what's in a cereal bowl? But some people still think bowl healthy. Look, if you still think good stuff has to come in a bowl, here you go. Linder's Bagels. Who knew they were this good?
New family members mean new responsibilities and new needs for life and health insurance protection. Why not drop in on your MetLife representative to help you figure out what's right for you and your family? Get Met. It pays.
Benny, the chicken. Throw him the chicken! The chicken, Benny! Please, Benny! The chicken! Throw him the chicken!
But it's Roy Rogers' chicken.
It's chicken month at Roy's. And now get a 2-piece dinner, medium fries, a 15-ounce drink, just $2.99.
I hate machines! Sorry, Rosie.
Why don't we go to the new Sprint store at Radio Shack, George? They have Sprint's easy-to-use products.
And the know-how of Radio Shack.
They even showed Astro how to use his mobile phone.
They could even help you, Mr. J.
Astro has a mobile phone? Well, oh, Rhonda.
The new Sprint store at Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
Hello, I'm Joe DeCandia, the owner of Lenny's Columbine Restaurant. I would like to welcome you to Lenny's. We serve you the finest Italian seafood like calamari, baked clams, lobster tail served with shrimps, mussels, and linguine. Our delicious pasta dishes are a mouth-watering treat, and our Italian specialty are unforgettable. Visit one of Lenny's nearest you and enjoy a glass of wine in the house.
Johnny Carson premiered as the new host of The Tonight Show officially as of yesterday, marking the 61st anniversary of his premiere. Well, he takes over from Jack Paar as host of the late-night talk program, The Tonight Show. And Carson went on to host The Tonight Show, starring himself for 3 decades, becoming one of the biggest figures in entertainment in the 20th century. John William Carson, born on October 23rd of 1925 in Corning, Iowa, he grew up in Norfolk, Nebraska, served in the U.S. Navy in the mid-40s, and attended the University of Nebraska. By the early 1950s, he was living in California and working in radio and the emerging medium of television. He later moved to New York City, and in 1957 became the host of the popular game show, Who Do You Trust? Then in 1958, he appeared on The Tonight Show as a substitute for host Jack Paar. The Tonight Show had originated in 1951 in Los Angeles as a radio program hosted by Steve Allen. Then in 1954, the program moved to TV, and then in 56, Jack Paar replaced Allen as the host. Carson took over permanent hosting duties from Paar on October 1st of 1962. He hosted the show from New York City until 1972, when it was relocated to Burbank, California. Each edition of The Tonight Show began with Carson's sidekick, Ed McMahon, announcing, "Here's Johnny," and who became known for his relaxed, affable stage presence and dapper appearance, performed an opening monologue of jokes punctuated by his trademark golf swing. Following the monologue, he would banter with Ed McMahon and the show's band leader, Doc Severinsen, and sometimes perform skits and play characters such as Karnak the Magnificent, an all-knowing seer, and the elderly Aunt Blabby. Carson then conducted celebrity interviews. The Tonight Show featured sit-downs with the day's biggest movie and TV stars, as well as athletes, politicians, singers, comedians, and animal acts. On December 17, 1969, The Tonight Show drew its largest audience when some 58 million people tuned in for the on-air wedding of the singer Tiny Tim to a teenage fan known as Miss Vicky. As for Carson's influence on the television industry as a whole, according to his obituary in the New York Times, throughout his career, Mr. Carson was instrumental in changing some of the bedrock ways television operated. His move to Burbank meant a realignment of American pop culture from East Coast to West Coast, from Broadway to Hollywood. And once The Tonight Show ceased to be televised live from 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. and began being taped in the early evening, it lost some of the spontaneity and sense of danger that live performance brings, and also eventually a half hour of its running time. The practice of taping is now the norm, and virtually all live entertainment programming on national television has become a thing of the past. After 3 decades with the hugely successful Tonight Show, Carson decided to retire. He hosted his final show on May 22nd of 1992. Comedian Jay Leno took over the hosting duties the following day. Carson, who was married 4 times, stayed largely out of the public spotlight after retiring. On January 23, 2005, the late-night TV legend died at the age of 79 of complications from emphysema. There you have it, friends. So that was a pretty big story there. Let's see what else we have. Well, we all know pretty much what Johnny did because Johnny's repeats are pretty much on, the on the air, as you could also go to Pluto TV and look at those fantastic Johnny Carson shows. They're on, he's got his own channel pretty much, I think, Johnny Carson's channel. So if you go to Pluto TV, you can get all of Johnny's late night television episodes. Should be fun. Yeah. This the format of the Tonight Show, if you didn't know, was established the modern format of the late night talk show, a monologue sprinkled with a rapid-fire series of 16 to 22 one-liners. Carson had a rule of no more than 3 on the same subject, was followed by sketch comedy, then moving on to guest interviews and performances by musicians and stand-up comedians. Occasionally, Carson interviewed prominent politicians such as Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Robert F. Kennedy, and Hubert Humphrey. However, Carson refused to discuss his personal political views on the show out of concern it might alienate his audience, and resisted efforts from his writing staff, particularly head writer and admitted liberal Marshall Brickman, to include more political material in the show. Other regulars were selected for their entertainment or informational value, in contrast to those who offered a more cerebral conversation. His preference for access to Hollywood stars caused the show's move to the West Coast on May 1st of 1972. The Tonight Show would not return to New York until 2014 when Jimmy Fallon took the hosting reins. And when asked about intellectual conversation on The Tonight Show, Carson and his staff invariably cited Carl Sagan, Paul Ehrlich, Margaret Mead, Gore Vidal, Shana Alexander, Madeline Murray O'Hare as guests, and one television critic stated, however, he always presented them as if they were spinach for your diet when he did feature such names. Family therapist Carl Fred Broderick, appeared on the show 10 times, and psychologist Joyce Brothers was one of Carson's most frequented guests. Carson, in general, did not feature prop comedy acts. Carson was not adverse to using prop comedy himself. Such acts, with Gallagher being a prominent example, more commonly appeared when guest hosts helmed the program. Carson almost never socialized with guests before or after the show. Frequent interviewee Orson Welles recalled that the Tonight Show employees were astonished when Carson visited Welles' dressing room to say hello before a show. Unlike his avuncular counterparts like Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas, and Dick Cavett, Carson was a comparatively cool host who only laughed when generally amused and abruptly cut short monotonous or embarrassingly inept interviewees. Mort Saul recalled, "The producer crouches just off camera and holds up a card that says, 'Go to commercial.' So Carson goes to a commercial and the whole team rushes up to his desk to discuss what had gone wrong, like a pit stop at Le Mans." Actor Robert Blake once compared being interviewed by Carson to Facing the Death Squad or Broadway on opening night. The publicity value of appearing on The Tonight Show was so great, however, that most guests were willing to subject themselves to the risk. So, as you know, you have all of your characters that Johnny Carson did and how the program went, and it's interesting to note that Jack Parr's last appearance was on March 29th of 1962, and due to Carson's commitment to the ABC game show Who Do You Trust, he could not take over until October 1st. That's why there was a long stretch. The day his ABC contract expired, his first guests were Rudy Vallee, Tony Bennett, Mel Brooks, and Joan Crawford. Carson inherited from Parr a show that was 1 3/4 hours or 105 minutes long. The show broadcast 2 openings, one starting at 11:15 p.m. and including the monologue, the other that listed the guest and re-announced the host, starting at 11:30 p.m. The 2 openings gave affiliates the option of screening either a 15-minute or a 30-minute local newscast preceding Carson. Since 1959, the show had been videotaped earlier that same broadcast day. And as more affiliates introduced 30 minutes of local news, Carson's monologue was being seen by fewer people. To rectify this situation, Ed McMahon and Skitch Henderson co-hosted the first 15 minutes of the show between February 65 and December of 66 without Carson, who then took over at 11:30. Finally, because he wanted the show to start when he came on at the beginning of January of 1967, Carson insisted the 11:15 segment be eliminated, which he claimed in a monologue at the time no one actually watched except the armed forces and 4 Navajos in Gallup, New Mexico. January of 65 to 66, the Saturday or Sunday, 11:15 p.m. to 1 a.m. reruns initially billed as the Saturday Tonight Show. September of 66 to September of 1975, 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Reruns now identify as the Sunday Tonight Show, the Weekend Tonight Show by 73. By the mid-70s, Tonight was the most profitable show on television, making NBC $50 to $60 million. Whew. That's $220 to $270 million in 2022. And each year, as Carson influenced the scheduling of reruns, which typically aired under the title The Best of Carson in the mid-70s and in 1980, the length of each evening's broadcast by threatening NBC with, in the first case, moving to another network, and in the latter, retiring altogether. In order to work fewer days each week, Carson began to petition network executives in 1974 that reruns on the weekends be discontinued in favor of showing them on one or more nights during the week. In response to his demands, NBC created a new comedy variety series to feed to affiliates on Saturday nights that debuted in October of 1975, called Saturday Night Live. Now, in 1980, Carson renewed his contract with the stipulation that the show lose its last half hour On the last 90-minute show, September 12th of 1980, Carson explained that by going to an hour, the show would feel more fast-paced and have a greater selection of guests. For a year, Tom Schneider's existing talk show, Tomorrow, was expanded to 90 minutes and forced to change its format, adding gossip reporter Rona Barrett as a co-host and taking on the name Tomorrow Coast to Coast. This was short-lived, as a year and a half later, Schneider had quit and Tomorrow's Coast to Coast had been canceled. Carson was given authority to fill the vacant time slot and used it to create Late Night with David Letterman. Today, The Tonight Show remains 1 hour in length and is still followed by Late Night, currently under the title Late Night with Seth Meyers. May of 1991, following positive viewer reception during tests in St. Louis and Dallas-Fort Worth, NBC reached an agreement with Carson Productions to delay the show's start time by 5 minutes beginning September 2nd, allowing its stations to include more commercials during their local newscasts. This time shift would also affect Late Night and later with Bob Costas and station-programmed overnight syndicated shows. NBC executives had been proposing the 5-minute delay idea to Carson since 1988, only to be repeatedly rebuffed amid concerns that some of its affiliates, particularly those that had unsuccessfully sought permission to delay The Tonight Show by a half hour, would begin preempting the program entirely and replace it with syndicated reruns to generate extra revenue from local advertising. In an on-screen eulogy to Carson in 2005, David Letterman said that every talk show host owes his livelihood to Johnny Carson during his Tonight Show run. And there you have it, friends. 61 years ago, Johnny Carson gave us 30 great years of The Tonight Show. Thank you, Mr. Carson. Next up on the program, we're going to look at the 78th birthday of Don McLean, the man who made American Pie a staple. We'll be right back, right after this.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big rich one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. So thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big rich one.
Ketchup lovers, now try Heinz in the 64-ounce plastic bottle.
Okay, Jonathan, we're sending you back in time.
Before television, radio, even before soft drinks. Careful. Anything you do could change history.
Mum's the word.
Activate time travel mode to the year 1885.
He's there.
Hey, where's my Pepsi?
Oh, no. He took it.
Relax, Smith. What could 12 ounces of Pepsi possibly change?
Yeah, what could happen?
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Do you wanna dance? Hold my hand.
Now there's a car that just asks to be driven.
You're my lover man. Oh, baby.
Mercury is bringing a sophisticated new shape to the American road. Introducing Sable. Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
Victoria Herb.
But they finally found a substitute for the sweet roll.
Nutri-Grain's new almond raisin.
What is it, nuts and twigs?
Try almond raisins and these great new flakes made with brown rice.
But there's no sugar added. Herb, you're going to love the taste, even though it's healthy. Hey, don't you have a story to write? How's this? Man eats healthy food and lives.
The amazing taste of Nutri-Grain's new almond raisin.
It's news.
It's fun getting to the bottom of one. It's fun getting to the bottom of one. White Mountain Cooler. Keeping it light. Cooler. Crisp and refreshing. It's got the taste that's always right. It's fun getting to the bottom of one.
Original and new orange.
It's time
Time for a credit card that gives you a better deal.
The Discover card.
With the new Discover card, you don't have to pay an annual fee. In fact, we pay you with money back on everything you buy. Money you can apply against your balance.
Way to find that right tomorrow. The Discover card puts money in a whole new life.
From a member of Sears Financial Network. Look for more information in the mail or in national magazines.
Don McLean is turned 78 today. Happy birthday to you, Don. The man who made American Pie a staple in the rock and roll industry. Well, he's the American singer, songwriter, and guitarist known to fans as the American Troubadour or King of the Trail, and is best known for his 1971 hit song American Pie, an 8.5-minute folk rock cultural touchstone about the loss of innocence of the early rock and roll generation. His other hit singles include Vincent, about Vincent van Gogh, Dreidel, and Wonderful Baby, as well as his renditions of Roy Orbison's Crying and the Skyliners' Since I Don't Have You. His song, And I Love You So, has been recorded by Elvis Presley, Perry Como, Helen Reddy, Glenn Campbell, and others. In 2000, Madonna had a hit with a rendition of American Pie. And in 2004, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. January of 2018, BMI certified that American Pie had reached 5 million airplays and Vincent had 3 million. Don McLean's grandfather and father, both also named Don McLean, were of Scottish origin. McLean's mother, Elizabeth Bucci, was Italian, originated from Abruzzo in central Italy. He has other extended family in Los Angeles and Boston, and he grew up in New Rochelle, New York, where he delivered newspapers as a boy. Though some of his early musical influences included Frank Sinatra and Buddy Holly, as a teenager, McLean became interested in folk music, particularly the Weavers, 1955 recording The Weavers at Carnegie Hall. He often missed long periods of school because of childhood asthma, and although McLean slipped back in his studies, his love of music was allowed to flourish. By age 16, he had bought his first guitar and began making contacts in the music business, becoming friends with the folk singers Eric Darling and Fred Hillerman of the Weavers. Hillerman said, "He called me one day and said, 'I'd like to come and visit you,' and that's what he did. We became good friends, and he has the most remarkable music memory of anyone I've ever known." When McLean was 15, his father died. Fulfilling his father's request, McLean graduated from Iona Preparatory School in 1963 and briefly attended Villanova University, dropping out after 4 months. After leaving Villanova, he became associated with the famed folk music agent Harold Leventhal for several months before teaming up with his personnel manager, Herb Gart, for 18 years. For the next 6 years, he performed at venues and events including the Bitter End and the Gaslight Cafe in New York, the Newport Folk Festival, the Cellar Door in Washington, D.C., and the Troubadour in Los Angeles. Gart's 18-year tenure as McLean's manager ended acrimoniously in the 1980s following Gart's death. Then in September of 2018, Don McLean wrote, "I feel it is important to note that Herb did many good things for me in the beginning, but could not deal with my success, as odd as that may sound. In about 1982, Herb told me his associate, Walter Hofer, who ran Copyright Service Bureau, a collection business for song publishers, had stolen $90,000 from my account, but had put it back. This was a cover story and a lie. Furthermore, the amount turned out to be more like $200,000, and because Gart was now complicit in this crime, I fired him, and he sued me, but settled for a small amount and was never heard from again. There is so much of this in my business, and artists usually sweep it under the rug, but I don't. I want people to know the truth about my journey." Don attended night school at Iona College and received a bachelor's degree in business administration in 1968. He turned down a scholarship to Columbia University Graduate School in favor of pursuing a career as a singer-songwriter, performing at such venues as Cafe Lena in Saratoga Springs, New York, and the Main Point in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Later that year, with the help of a grant from the New York State Council on the Arts, Don McLean began reaching a wider audience with visits to towns up and down the Hudson River. He learned the art of performing from his friend and mentor, Pete Seeger. McLean accompanied Seeger on his Clearwater boat trip up the Hudson River in 1969 to raise awareness about environmental pollution in the river. During this time, he wrote songs that appeared on his first album, Tapestry. McLean co-hosted or co-edited the book, Songs and Sketches of the First Clearwater Crew, with sketches by Thomas B. Allen, for which Seeger wrote the foreword. Seeger and McLean sang Shenandoah on the 1974 Clearwater album. McLean still thinks about his experiences of working with Seeger. Hardly a day goes when I don't think about Pete and how generous and supportive he was. If you could understand his politics and you got to know him, he really was some kind of modern day saint. Don McLean, he recorded Tapestry in 1969 in Berkeley, California during the student riots. After being rejected 72 times by labels, the album was released by Media Arts, a label that had not existed, but when he first started to look for one. He worked on the album for a couple of years before putting it out. It attracted good reviews, but little notice outside the folk community, though on the easy listening chart, Castles in the Air was a success, and in 1973, And I Love You So became a #1 adult contemporary hit for Perry Como. McLean's major break came when Media Arts was taken over by United Artists Records, thus securing the promotion of a major label for his second album, American Pie. The album launched 2 #1 hits in the title song and Vincent. American Pie's success made Don McLean an international star and piqued interest in his first album, which charted more than 2 years after its initial release. McLean's magnum opus, American Pie, is a sprawling, impressionistic song inspired partly by the deaths of Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper, in a plane crash in 1959, and developments in American youth culture in the subsequent decade. The song popularized the expression, "the day the music died," in reference to the crash. The song was recorded on May 26, 1971, and a month later received its first radio airplay on New York's WNEW-FM and WPLJ-FM to mark the closing of Fillmore East, the famous New York concert hall. American Pie reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 from January 15th to February 5th of 1972, and remains McLean's most successful single release. The single also topped the Billboard Easy Listening chart with a total running time of 8 minutes and 36 seconds, encompassing both sides of the single. It was also the longest song to reach #1 until Taylor Swift's All Too Well, which was Taylor's version, broke the record in 2021. Some stations played only part one of the original split-sided single release. WCFL DJ Bob Dearborn unraveled the lyrics and first published his interpretation on January 7th of 1972, 4 days after the song reached #1 on rival station WLS, 6 days before it reached #1 on WCFL, and 8 days before it reached #1 nationally. Numerous other interpretations, which together largely converged on Dearborn's interpretation, quickly followed. McLean declined to say anything definitive about the lyrics until 1978. Since then, McLean has stated that the lyrics are also somewhat autobiographical and present an abstract joy or story of his life from the mid-1950s until the time he wrote the song in the late 60s. The original United Artists Records Inner Sleeve featured a free verse poem written by Don and about William Boyd, also known as Hopalong Cassidy, along with a picture of Boyd in full Hopalong regalia. This sleeve was removed within a year of the album's release. The words to this poem appear on a plaque at the hospital where Boyd died. The Boyd poem and picture tribute do appear on a special remastered 2003 CD. In 2001, American Pie was voted number 5 in a poll of the 365 songs of the century compiled by the Recording Industry Association of America and the National Endowment for the Arts. On April 7th of 2015, his original working manuscript for American Pie sold for $1,205,000 at Christie's Auction Rooms, New York, making it the third highest auction price achieved for an American literary manuscript. And there you have it, folks. And it goes on, as you read about Don McLean and his wonderful life, it's sad to note that he died of complications to his breathing. We wish him the best of luck, and we hope that his sons will be as successful as Daddy was himself. American Pie, folks, goes on as one of the songs that brings back a lot of memories to people at the beginning of the 70s. It's a staple that will be with us forever. For those who love it and eat it, American Pie is here to stay and will always be one of the songs that sticks in everybody's head for the next 8 minutes. Happy birthday, Don McLean, still going strong at the age of 78. Next up, we're going to look at an essay on corruption, and then we'll have our editorial and wrap up this edition of DMS 3000 News Live, episode 54. We'll be right back.
As Halloween approaches, you have to prepare yourself for what might happen.
More orange sprinkles.
It's a special time of year, and Dunkin' Donuts is dressing up their donuts for the occasion.
And here's the werewolf.
So come to Dunkin' Donuts and get into the spirit of Halloween.
We'd like some Halloween donuts, please.
Oh, of course.
How does Sam Breakstone know when his sour cream is ready?
Not thick enough!
Now?
Not thick enough!
Now?
Now!
Breakstone's all-natural sour cream is so thick and so rich now because Sam was so demanding then.
Put that down.
Now?
Now! Ah! Try my light choice. It's got 33% less fat than sour cream, but it's 100% delicious.
When you're rushing in a hurry, what's for dinner? Not to worry. When a pizza just won't cut it, more Chinese, you're sick of it. For a warm and hearty supper, grab some chunky from the cupboard. It's not really such a big deal to prepare yourself a square meal. Chunks of beef and big potatoes. And of course, we've got tomatoes, peas and vegetables galore. Chunky soup, need we say more? Campbell's Chunky. Soup that eats like a meal.
Happy Halloween! I'm Dumpy the Pumpkin, the fresh ice cream cake made daily at Carvel. And here's my good friend, Wiki the Witch.
Are you having a Halloween party? Go to your participating Carvel ice cream store and ask to see us, Dumpy the Pumpkin and me, Wiki the Witch. Or if you want to send one of us to a friend,
please phone 800-327-GIFT and call the Cake Honors most major credit cards. Thank you.
If you suffer from an inflamed, itchy rash caused by eczema, psoriasis, or other skin irritations, you can get the relief medication formerly available only by doctor's prescription. It's the medicine in maximum strength Cortisone 10. Look, Cortisone 10 applied to this itchy rash gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. See? The rash is gone. To relieve itchy rashes and skin irritations, use maximum strength Cortisone 10 with the medicine doctors recommend most. Available without prescription.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? if you don't have blast processing?
Take out! Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Columns free.
What Nintendo don't.
Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and...
Yeah.
Clean the inside too, mister?
Just the outside.
White Castle. What you crave. Got an extreme crave? Get 20 burgers and 4 orders of fries.
Corruption is the most common issue faced by the maximum number of countries in the world, and is an attack on the public's faith, and it hampers the morale and confidence of society. About 80% of the countries in the world are facing severe corruption, and the situation of corruption is the worst in Asian countries, whereas European countries, primarily Baltic nations, have done significantly well in controlling corruption. Well, what is it? Corruption is an ethical dereliction to misuse public property or money for self-interest. It is betraying the people, and the root of this is the misuse of even the nominal power assigned to them. Corruption is something only related to public funds or government. It is cheating and playing with other person's faith, and every country and every company, whether public or private, has faced some corruption, but it becomes serious when common public interests are at stake. Corruption deteriorates the mind and thought process of the people of the country. Corruption had been the enemy of the development of any nation, and it gives rise to inequality, injustice, illegality, and inconsistency at all levels of the administration. Commonly, corruption is considered bribery, but it is something beyond just bribery. It involves not performing one's duties and not being accountable for that. And it also consists of favoring one's close ones for something which is for all. All these come under some cheating to the public for personal benefit, and the consideration for such favor could be money, gifts, or any other thing. The corruption at government and administrative levels is alarming, where leaders and officers have done unethical practices to earn money directly or indirectly to fulfill their luxurious needs. The corruption in the system is the culmination of various factors, and it can be commonly observed that low-income countries or nations with unstable governments are the most corrupt in the list of most corrupt nations. So we can say that availability of more money is not the reason, but its administration is the problem. The causes of corruption have been categorized under various heads: political factors, the power of money in elections, and the first thing which everyone relates to is corruption in politics. Politicians are the ones who are mainly considered corrupt, and every politician throughout their life tries to defend against being corrupt. Elections are held yearly, and every political party spends money on elections. Now, elections are not a matter of just appealing to get the vote, but it has become a means to convert black money into white by spending that money on elections. Politicians spend a lot of money on campaigns, rallies, and conveyance from one city to another, and all these payments are sourced from illegitimate money. Every politician needs to procure such a high amount, which leads their way toward corruption. The high amount of money used in politics comes directly from the capitalists of the country, who give them money in exchange for some favor from the political parties. This creates the route for channelizing black money from the prominent capitalists in politics. Capitalists are those who don't have any political rivalry with anyone. They support everyone who can provide better support for their expansion. It is like an investment for them to grow their business. Politicians fulfill the demands of capitalists in exchange for the funds, and thus the motive of both of them is served. Now, secondly, the economic cause. In almost every country, there is a gap between the number of rich people and middle and poor people, and this economic gap is also one of the root causes of corruption. Low-income people are forced to pay a bribe to get their work done. Ironically, those who do not have much money have to pay more for basic things. This is the most drastic situation because poor and middle-class people face corruption daily and in the most open manner at this level. Low-income people pay the bribe at every point, from government hospitals to government offices. Corruption at lower levels start from lower wages and insufficient funds to survive during high inflationary periods. Although corruption is not the solution to the situation, low wages lead a person to find other income options where the easiest way is to take a bribe or earn money from illegal sources. Bureaucracy in any country is held responsible for corruption after political leaders. Bureaucrats use their powers illegitimately to fulfill their illegal demands, and they are accused of asking for bribes to pass various proposals. The bureaucrats who are honest and try to change this corruption situation are witch hunted, face fake accusations, etc., and there are various examples of genuine bureaucrats. But the system didn't respect and support them. The judiciary of any nation is very important to stop corruption. The public is hopeful that if no one hears them, the judiciary will support them. But the situation gets worse when this also gets involved in corruption and people are left with no hope. There are a lot of cases in the world where the judiciary has been involved in corruption and has given judgments in favor of corrupt people. There are various judgments by judges being influenced by some other party who has altered the independence of the judiciary with the power of money. Even if the judicial system restrains itself from bribes and illegal money, it becomes part of corruption by not giving strict and timely justice in the cases of corruption. And due to inefficiency, the judicial system has failed to establish the fear of law among corrupt people. Corruption has increased in those countries rapidly whose literacy level is low. Corrupt people take advantage of the lack of knowledge and awareness of illiterate citizens of the country. Maximum cases of bribery are seen in areas with less education, like villages, because they don't ask questions to officials due to insecurity and get easily fooled by them. They are the soft target of corrupt people. The corruption starts from the greed to get a high income to fulfill the unnecessary luxuries or the luxurious wants of the individual. This is the main reason people move towards bribery, even if they have enough to lead a good life. It is an ethical aspect of corruption. Corruption is subjective, meaning it exists in almost every country, but the extent or degree varies from country to country. The most renowned and trusted index, which ranks nations worldwide based on the degree of corruption in the public sector, is the Corruption Perception Index, released by the private body Transparency International every year since 1995. The latest report, Corruption Perception Index 2021, was released in January of 2022. It ranked 180 countries based on scores between 1, which were highly corrupt, and 100, no corruption. The scores are given to the countries for the level of corruption, cronyism, electoral frauds, kleptocracy, influence peddling, nepotism, slush fund, present in the country and the government's efforts in curbing corruption. Denmark, New Zealand, Finland, Singapore, and Sweden were the top 5 least corrupt countries, respectively. In contrast, Syria, Somalia, and South Sudan were the top 3 countries with high corruption levels. And there you have it, friends. An essay on corruption in all of its glory. And you know what it is? I'm very surprised that our United States of America did not rank high on that corruption level. considering all the things that our wonderful, supposedly so-called president has done to our country to destroy its great name and the legacy it's going to leave later on in the future. Now, coming up to our editorial today, this is some announcements that are going to be made over the course of the next 2 weeks. So we have some fantastic, great interview coming up tomorrow on the program, and I'm so excited. Not only do we have the 40th anniversary of the game show put out by Bob Stewart called Go, but the host of Go, our own Kevin O'Connell, will be coming up on here on DMS 3000 News Live for an exclusive interview to celebrate the game show's birthday. Should be fun, and the anniversary too. And it should be fun, and we will get some great information from Mr. O'Connell about himself and how he got chosen to be the host of a very short-lived game show that should have been on for much longer than the 26 weeks that it was on between 1983 and 1985. So we'll see what happens. Plus, of course, he had hosted some other pilots of some game shows that I thought were very good and would have had an even better run if they were bought. And I think they were bought, but they were hosted by different people. But we'll get his commentary on that all tomorrow. He comes on at 9:00 tomorrow. So don't forget to set your dial and tune in live, because we will be here. But for the first hour, we'll talk about Go at 8:30 or 8:45, give you a little bit of a brief, shot of it. If you remember the game show, which I know the game show community does remember, if they do, for that matter, it's going to be an interesting show tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Next week on our program, on October 9th, yours truly goes on 5 days a week. That's right. Starting next week on October 9th, the DMS 3000 News Live show will come to you now at 7:00 in the morning and finish up at 9:00 in the morning. We come on at 7 to 9, and I will be the permanent host for DMS 3000 News Live Monday through Friday. Yes, folks, we finally come to the conclusion that the only way to keep this program on, with all of the things that have gone on and everything, and we've talked to everybody who want about hosting, and we've sent out announcements of if you want to be a host or a temporary host or a permanent host of the show, or take over the other 3 days to split up the work with me. Great, but no one has budged, which I kind of thought was kind of a weird thing, considering the fact that I would have thought everybody would have jumped on this opportunity to host a program like this. But this program is not for everybody as far as hosting capabilities. You really have to know a lot about what's going on, do the research the weekend before, and get up as early as you possibly can. Have your caffeine ready to go, because this is a 2-hour program, and it goes on for 2 hours every day, which will be bumped back to the 7 to 9 spot. Brian Snow and Cole Johnsons will still be on at 10, but now there is an open spot from 9 to 10 in the morning. So if you have an hour show that would like to be part of the morning lineup, please do drop us a line, and we will definitely look into fulfilling a spot for the Monday through Friday time slot from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Also, too, next week is my 46th birthday, next Saturday. So I will be celebrating on Monday all about me. That's right. Yes, I'm taking over my program on the 9th of October, and I'm going to do it and start off the 46th year of my life hosting this fantastic program. And I couldn't have started at a better time or place, for that matter. Okay, so you have me now for 5 days a week, folks. So like I said before, if you have an article or a piece of information or story that you would like us to broadcast on the program, please drop us a line the day before, and we will get that into the time slot with the research ready to go. Or if you'd like to be on the program and you'd like to be interviewed or have something to share with us here that you would like to have yourself come on, please, by all means, we invite you to come on as long as you do not degrade or say something derogatory or try to attack somebody. But if you do try to attack somebody as far as that, or try to attack the host, I think it's up for debate, because this is the time right now for all those trolls out there who really do not like me and everybody else in the game show community. This is your time to finally come forward, fools, and start your little bantering. Okay? You want it? This is your opportunity to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, wipe the crusty brains out of your freaking eyes, and decide, well, once and for all, what are you going to say, and try to piss the man off. Well, here we go again, folks. This is where there's the fine line of, what we give you as far as information and what we tell you as far as the truth. Everything here comes from articles. It comes from the Wikipedia. It comes from citations, and we give it to you. Okay? So this program can be your morning wake up. It can be anything you want it to be. What we don't want it to be is something that degrades people, puts them down, makes them feel like idiots, or something of the sort. We're not going to do that. And if you're forcing us, or forcing myself in any which way, to report something that you feel is going to degrade somebody, I'm going to bring you on the program personally and have it all beef out with you. And I'm going to tell you straight to your face, right here on this program, don't even try it. Because at this point in the game, you want lawsuits and legalities? Fair enough. But why should I be the one to basically tell you that if you've got a problem with somebody else, why do you want to come on my show and basically, try to convince me that the person you hate so much, is my friend? What are you trying to convince me of? That the person is actually honest and truthful, and that you can't stand honest and truth? Wow. That really bites, man. It really does bite. But let me put it to you this way, folks. And I said this before. Last month, the month of September, was a kind of a dry one for us here at the DMS 3000 News and for David 3000 Network. Getting off to that start, we hoped was the thing. The views were there, folks. But a lot of the programs just were not airing when they did. Some things have come up, and we were not committed to that. Now, let me put it to you this way. At the beginning of our show, we talked about Tim Wakefield's passing. And I noticed a very big monotone of sadness, anger, resentment amongst those who are big fans of Tim Wakefield. Okay, folks, here's the thing. The way I reported the article today was not to discriminate, nor to put down Tim Wakefield as an overall great baseball player. This man proved it with his knuckleball. He had a fantastic career at the Boston Red Sox and the Pittsburgh Pirates, donated to his community. What more can we say about this guy? But the mere fact that is he went too early in life. But cancer will do that. Okay, cancer will take you no matter how healthy you are, no matter what age you are. And I say this with people who live with cancer. You're doing everything in your power to make yourself feel better, get more energy, take more proactive approaches. Look, cancer is with us always. Okay, our bodies are nothing but a cancerous wound. Okay, it's only a matter of time before the cancer cells start doing their thing. But if we get early detection and we go out there and we get tested, we can then take the proactive approach to find that cure or be in remission and take it one step at a time. Now, if we pass on from the cancer or from anything else that the cancer weakened in our body, rest assured that it was not anybody's fault, okay? God is in control of this whole situation, and you must understand that he has the plan for everybody. Okay? You must think of it this way, that God is in control of our bodies, our lives. He created us, and he knows when our time is coming to the end. It is a sad time for us, yes, when a person does pass from cancer. I can understand that. And we need to mourn, and we need to understand that that person suffered so much. But remember this, when that person passes on to the next life, wherever they go, know that they're not suffering anymore. They're in a better place. The cancer is gone. When you pass on, folks, whatever ailments you've had here on the earth are no longer in your body. You are a spiritualized body. And whether you tend to believe that or not, it is true. Read it in the Bible. Okay? If you don't believe me and don't want to take that direction. Okay? But I've been told in a glorified spiritual body that the glorified spiritual body does not have the ailments to prevent it from being harmed in any way. Your spiritual body is what comes out after death. Okay? Now, you're going to be saying to yourself, how is he an expert on all of this? How could he possibly prove that this is what it is? Well, folks, at the age of 45 and being a Roman Catholic myself for the last 45 years of spirit, mind, and body, let me say this much. I have heard so many theories and I've drawn my own conclusions on it. But I do know that we are only here for a limited amount of time. And with that in mind, let us also understand that if we decide to waste the time that God has given us, and I don't want to sound like a preacher on Sunday, but I got no choice here because now I'm taking it to a religious side, and I don't really want to, but I have to make you aware that God put us here for a certain amount of time, and we are to make the best of what we have and what we are given. God gives us the gifts. We ought to use them. If we decide to waste them, he's going to take it away from us. So when your parents say, stop wasting time and do something with your life, they really do mean that, because we're only here for so much. And Tim Wakefield is an example of short time on the planet Earth. 57 is very short time. 27 is very short time. Those who don't live beyond a certain point of age life, it's a short amount of time. But there was a reason for that to happen. There was a reason for it. And whose reason was it? It was God's. And to the trolls out there who want to continue to mock cancer and mock the diseases, wait till you get it. It ain't going to hit hard until you get it. Yeah. That's usually what the problem is in our society is. It's only bad when it hits them hard. Yeah. For everybody else that the cancer affects, the trolls are like, yeah, man, this guy's got cancer. Woo, woo, woo. Hey, when you finally get it there, Mr. Troll, or whoever you are hiding in the background, remember this. You're going to suffer just like the millions of people are going to suffer. And you'll be in that bed and can't get out of that bed. And then to say to yourself, oh, shoot, maybe I should have kept my mouth shut. You probably should have. Because now you have the disease. Oh, now you're losing your hair. Now you're losing weight and looking like skin and bones. Can't eat, can't sleep, have chronic pain and all this other stuff and suffering. Yeah. And yet you continue to degrade people who have had it or who are going through it right now and think that that's okay to do. It's not. All right. So I'm telling you, leave the people in the game show community and the David 3000 Network and myself alone. Leave it alone. Drop the subject right now because it's not your business. It's not your say. And if you have more information on it, why don't you come on this program and debate me, and I'll make sure that you have it handed to you on a silver platter. That's all for today, folks. I'm out of here. We got Brian Snow and Cole Johnson coming up next. I want to thank you very much for another great episode here today on DMS 3000 News Live. And remember, be honest, be real, and keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and always do your best no matter what. Good night.
Don't forget to subscribe to the David Patterson Network for great more content like this one.